Here he is, Damo. Welcome in.
Hello, Jim, Bill, and Dangerous.
Oh,
and just love listening back annually now to Bill's assessment of September kicking into the calendar and the referencing, obviously, to the grass. But it made no sense at the time when you went down the bins path. And have you thought over the journey as to why?
No.
And it makes no sense today.
No.
That's why we like it, Damien.
Yeah.
It's spring. That's what we love, don't we?
It is.
You mow
What's
the
that got
lawns.
to do with bins?
Well, you mow the lawns, and then you put the bins out.
Is that the link to the bins?
I was trying to get a link there.
Yeah.
We
And then
moved on.
Not
Duck-
really a link, no.
And then Duck used to add the other line, didn't he? That you'd wake up in September and then just hope that you're playing on a Wakeland. Was the way he finished off that whole statement.
No, Duck did like that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
No, what do you got, Fat? Are you stolen one of my...
He has. He has the
Just
sugar-free.
Oh, my God. Coke Zeros. What do we got? Where are we starting here, Purple?
It's a season, Jim, as you know, where all the exit meetings are going on and even players in contract are exploring possibilities away from those clubs they're at. And Michael Voss today was pretty open on SEN about the Charlie Curnow situation. So for those who haven't caught up with it, we'll just take a listen.
Open was more the language used, and obviously from our position it was it's pretty clear. So it's we don't feel like we're certainly in that position to want to go down that path. That position was well and truly communicated back to him. And then obviously from that point on we sort of moved on to other topics and sort of talked about his year and how we can make him better and get back to that striking form that he had only 12 months ago. No, I don't think it's worthy of going into detail outside of that. We've had a tough year. He's had a challenging year.
Yeah, so that's as much as he can do. And he was adamant and I think quite reflective on the whole situation, did acknowledge that there was a conversation of that nature, but as a club...
So Charlie Curnow, just to clear this up, has he gone in and said, I want to explore possibilities of moving? Or
what did he say? Yeah.
The referencing there and use of the word open, basically, and that's what Michael Voss said today, and that had been reported, had been quite widely reported, and we had on this station across the weekend said the same thing, that he was open to a conversation around that possibility, knowing, though, Jim, that he is contracted long-term, and that's going to be the sticking point to it. Look, we've all covered these stories enough now to know that even with Michael Voss being adamant there today, Bill, that it doesn't mean that this doesn't get revisited at some stage between now and close of play, which is mid-October on the trade period. So I think it's unlikely, but he is open and was open. And in an ideal world for Charlie, Jim, it was the Geelong Footy Club, but I don't know how they could possibly do it. I mean, ideal replacement down the track for Jeremy Cameron, not necessarily right now.
Tez has still got 2-3 years.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you'd think so.
And Shannon Neal's coming through
beautifully.
beautifully.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the other two clubs, Jim, that he was really open to, at least private conversations having, he may not have articulated this to Carlton, was Sydney Swans and Gold Coast.
All right, so what I'm interested in, Purple, is the old days where an exit meeting meant that you dragged your ass into the coach's room and just hoped you got away without your ass being hammered.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that the players are going in on the front foot, saying, well, unless you tell me what I want to hear, I'll actually explore the market.
It does work that way, and then we'll move off the Carlton Footy Club, which was once a powerhouse, onto another one that was once a powerhouse in Essendon, and on the back of what Tom Morris was reporting yesterday, and I have full belief in what Tom was reporting on this one, and I always do with Tom, that Jordan Ridley, again, long-term contracted until 2029, so 4 more years beyond this year, and the injury problems that he's had, Bill.
That's the main cause, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and again, players are very clever in how they actually raise these issues. I mean, Michael Voss was at pains there to say that Charlie had said he was open, and again, the denials by Essendon that we're not going to trade him, well, we get that. You've got him on contract, and you don't want to lose someone who has been the best and fairest for you. But again, it was explored. The conversation was explored on the back of his regular soft tissue injuries. And again, it's not going to shock me if it does unfold that he does again have this conversation properly dealt with in the confines of the trade period. Again, Essendon will need something pretty lucrative, Bill, to entertain that, but they are in a world of hurt with all the injuries they've had this year. They're yet to get an answer from Draper and Laverde. They're obviously committed to finding a new high-performance boss, so there's a lot of changes there after 3 years of Brad Scott's coaching.
All right, we got Carl Amon coming on later, Purple. Interesting interview. We had to do it earlier for his training purposes. He had this to say about the deliberate out-of-bounds or insufficient intent final round game up at the Gabba.
Oh, we don't have that audio.
We haven't got it at the minute, Jim.
Playing it. Oh, okay.
It's just coming
So
through.
I was only going to play that to say to you, Purple, is it with Greg Swan coming in, one of the first things he changes in the game where it's going to become last touch. Whoever kicks it or touches it over the line, the opposition get the ball in.
Yeah, and again, Jim, I don't feel that is one of the priorities for Swanee at the moment. I'm not saying he's not going to debate it, and equally how that looks too, because in some competitions, the last touch out of bounds rule is only between the 50-metre arcs and not inside the 50-metre zones in which Carl Amon was. So I feel there's a few more things on that list that Swanee's got to do. I think there's going to be a prominent discussion around the post-round 24 bye as to when that is in the calendar. We know that was introduced 10 years ago when initially it was Fremantle and North Melbourne in consecutive seasons rested en masse a large number of players from the final games of footy in which their ladder position could not change. That hasn't really happened since that rule was brought in. And again, the AFL over that time, Jim, has been really endorsing of the fact that it does give everyone a reset chance. But what it has done is diminish I think the benefits of finishing top four and how that looks. And the other problem I think we've got in this space, and it's only a matter of time, with the HIA requirements now of being a 12 days of absence, if you are said to have suffered a concussion, you're going to have situations, and it hasn't happened yet, but for the grace of God, in a prelim final bill where a player goes down. So it could happen this year. It's going to happen at some stage. So I think that's the one big. And I know you're big on the
what you're saying is move the bye to the week before the grand final.
That would be my feeling. And interestingly enough, and again, Greg Swan and Tom Harley are coming into the AFL now as senior executives underneath Andrew Dillon. They have obviously been successful chief executives of non-Victorian clubs in expansion markets, and they have been leading the way from the club's perspective of this particular issue being detrimental to the clubs that do finish top four and have earned the right to finish top four after 24 weeks of a 23-round home and away season.
Bounce of the ball?
I think that is just about the one thing we can lock in for next year. Just gone. It just
not the first
quarter.
No, I don't even think they'll do that, Jim. I mean, look at last year's grand final. The letdown that was at play when that ball went outside the circle to start the biggest game of the year. So it's a responsibility and a pressure that umpires haven't been able to basically live up to. And it's not a skill that they're required to do apart from, as you say, to start the game, to start each quarter, and to do it after each goal. So
shorter quarters.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to tighten up the games bill without actually changing the time and time on components. It's just throw the ball up straight away. You don't need to nominate a ruckman. If there's two people going up in the ruck for the same team, you free kick against them.
But even when they go for a look at the goals and all that, how long that takes?
They need to look at that, don't they?
Got to look at all that.
And I know, again, I'm not the only one who's had these conversations with Swanee. A lot of people in footy have. And in fact, it's a large reason that Andrew Dillon went and got him to bring him inside the tent. Andrew Dillon knows what Greg Swan has been saying about these particular issues. Let's see him make some change.
All right. Jim, you asked for the Carl Amon audio. We've got it now, Damo. Have a listen to this.
Well, I don't have it yet.
All right. We'll get to a break. We don't actually need it. It's going to be a fascinating listen, though, back end of the show to Carl Amon. But more coming up with you, Purple, after the break. There are somersaults happening about the numbers for the Legends game, and they were extraordinarily good viewing numbers.
Jim.
No, they were big.
Great
There's no
call
doubt about
team.
that, and that's a good call team and great numbers.
BT.
All of that acknowledged. Has there been a deep dive into some of the production values of that broadcast? And has Hutchie put his hand up and acknowledged that the $2.50 audio truck that he rented should actually be driven off the Westgate?
Well, we've done the sounding board today, Jim, and I didn't ask him that. I didn't know about it because I was at the All-Australian Awards night, so I didn't actually experience the said audio issues, but it was a concern.
I'm telling you, take it from me, a man who's been in the industry for 30 years, that truck, whatever he rented, should go and have ice cream sold out of it in Williamstown.
Sounds like the truck you used to have on here.
Yeah, that was.
Exactly. Now, what are we doing? These big finals coming up.
Look, most of the clubs, I reckon 6 out of the 8 clubs have got genuine injury concerns or selection issues going into this weekend of footy, Bill. So the biggest one is, I feel anyway, from that perspective, is Josh Weddle. What does Hawthorn do with him? Got through half of footy on the weekend and had not been seen since round 16 when he got what was a serious back injury. injury, and they were very cautious and careful as to how they brought him back through the rehab on that, and he had to tick so many boxes along the way, managed to do that, and managed to play a half of footy. Now, those who watched the game, they did say he was very rusty, but that can sometimes happen at VFL level for an elite player anyway, and so he's got through. I reckon they're going to pick him, and I don't think there's anything to be lost in picking him now that his body's right to go again.
It could be the sub.
Big.
He could be the sub.
It'd be a good spot for him. Yeah.
Equally, you could just play him and play him for 60% of the game time and hope you don't get injuries and sub him out. That could be the other way of doing it. It is a final. Yeah. So, and obviously the team they're playing, Jim, GWS, has got the most question marks around their players. So, Stringer, I'm going yes. Daniels, I'm going yes.
Well,
yes.
I'm reluctant to throw to Carl Amon again.
I've got it.
We spoke to him. No, we don't want that one, Dave. But we spoke to him about the fact that he normally gets Brent Daniels, and he's expecting him to play. Yeah. So to your point,
well, he got through a game of VFL. I'm going most likely. Today's obviously only Monday. They've got 3 days to have their team selected. I'm going most likely on Jesse Hogan, and the word
Most likely.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, there's been a turn, Bill, in the last 4 to 6 days on the outlook on that. It's still sore. It's still the same foot that he had that navicular problem with, but there's just
he's
been
gonna play sore.
a slight easing of outlook, I should say. So he's considering. In fact, yeah. I reckon he's going to play is where I'm at. Jack Buckley, now he's missed a lot of footy lately, and the most recent problem was not with the problematic leg, but again, talk is he will be right, and then they've got a decision to make about Josh Kelly. But of those 5 players, I think Josh Kelly's the most unlikely to play. So I think they could roll the dice themselves too, the Giants.
Purple, of all of the sayings that old blokes in footy wheel out,
Yes, Jim.
the one that they wheel out the most often that is 100% true is you cannot take injured players into a final.
And yet it's
You
the one
just
thing.
cannot.
And yet it's the one thing that clubs do every single year, Jim.
Every year.
They do. And look, other clubs have got to make decisions too. Obviously, let's go to the Lions, because they'll be bringing Lachie Neale back, and also Jared Berry, almost certainly.
Yes.
Eric Hipwood will be missing, I'd imagine, at least the first 2 weeks of the finals with his problem. And the other good positive out of what they had on the weekend was McKenna went through the VFL for the first time in some weeks, and also Big Oscar McInerney also played. So they're getting a few back. Geelong, basically their opponent, almost no injuries, Bill. We'll get Shannon Neal back from suspension.
They will, exactly. And Mark O'Connor pulled out last week, didn't play the last game, but he'll be fine. So you'll have the two.
So who are you not? You got Cam Guthrie. Where's he at?
Just can't see him
I don't
playing.
think he doesn't play.
And Mitch Duncan as well.
Mitch Duncan has retired, but he might. He could. Well, he's still available.
He's perfectly ready. Yeah.
Ollie Henry's in the twos. He's been going all right.
And Colin Jasny just hasn't played pretty much all year, has he, really?
Okay.
Yeah. Big decision for Adelaide. When I say big decision, big re-inclusion. Expectations now that Max Michaelani will come back for this particular game. So Josh Rochelle, if they win that qualifying final against Collingwood, expectations are now that they will bring him back for the prelim final. So that's a massive moment. And obviously the loss or the result of that game is going to give us an answer on the Isaac Rankin possibilities, at least if he can play again. As we know, there was a 4-week ban attached for the homophobic slur. If they lose that first final, they can then still make a grand final through that mechanism. Still some worry about Bo McQuarrie, Jim, on the Collingwood Footy Club. But had his foot basically stood on in that game against Melbourne, and I thought quite courageously came back on and had impact in the last quarter. But he's been sore, and he's been rested from significant training sessions since. He has run around with the group, by the way, but he hasn't really extended himself. I don't think he's a chance to miss, but there's clearly an issue with it, and they've got a big decision to make on whether they bring Mason.
He's important to
He's so important.
Mason Cox and Bobby Hill. Bobby Hill won't.
No, just the narrative out of the club. I mean, Brayden Maynard last week, Darcy Moore just refusing to engage on it. Craig McRae very openly saying that Bobby's asked him to not rule him out, but it certainly wasn't a commitment to rule him in either. So, there's the personal issues that he's been missing for, but there's that football trust issue which is at play right now going into a qualifying final. So a lot of work to play out there. I think the most emotional decision will be resting with the Gold Coast Suns and Damien Hardwick, and that is to whether to include Swallow, Jim.
David
Swallow, who has played 247 matches without a final, missed the most recent game against Essendon last Wednesday, which is the one that got them in. But I've got a feeling they will pick him as the sub. That's just my gut feel. Yeah.
Oh, you got to. I mean, so someone who's been that fabric to your joint.
Yep.
I just think from a, from a almost an emotional well-being point of view.
Yeah.
You got to have him in there.
I'm with you on that, Jim. And he's
Ooh.
played 7 times this year. I think 5 of those 7 he's been the sub or subbed out. He's been sub involvement in 5 of the 7, I believe. But again,
Who do you
is
drop
he going to
after
be worse?
that 100-point win?
No, you probably can't make that decision easy. But I think he's going to be a player you do pick. And equally, the Dockers have all but committed to having Nat Fyfe in that role for their campaign that's left. And there's a bit of symmetry with those two guys. I mean, obviously, Fyfe has played in a grand final and other finals. Andrew Swallow hasn't. But they are the old favourite son veterans of these clubs going into the finals.
Well, there's a famous discussion prior to the 99 grand final between Dennis Pagan and Wayne Carey about John Longmire, purple. And Duck just said, mate, he's got to play.
Yeah, he did.
I don't care what else you do, he's got to play.
Well, Jason McCartney made the decision easy, didn't he? When he himself belted, was it Clark Keating, I think, from memory, out of that prelim final. And just strangely, he did that in the last 10 minutes of a game. They'd well and truly secured and then was not available for selection. So it was made easy there. And speaking of injuries in finals, Jim, was the same grand final, wasn't it, that Anthony Stevens went in with a busted foot,
Ankle.
but then popped a shoulder in the same game.
Pec. I think he tore his
pec, was it?
Pectoral muscle. But anyway, he had 12 in the first quarter or something.
did.
But back to horse, I see that as a David Swallow. There are some blokes fat that are that important to you as a footy club. You've just got to emotionally have them involved.
247 games.
247. It's the most without a finals appearance. So I really do hope for his sake that he does get the sub-vest that they've released. A couple of other quick things, Jim, before I do take off. Chris Davies, we've known for some weeks that he's been a person of interest for the Carlton Footy Club, and it's not yet secured, but it is still heading that way. As we know, Kenny Hinkley...
He's a very good operator.
What's Chris Davies? What's he do?
He's been the right-hand man for Kenny Hinkley at Port for the
Head
best...
of footy.
Head of footy, and has had many offers to go to all these considerations to go to the AFL and other clubs over the years. He decided to stick with Kenny right to the very end, and the timing for him is right now to move on and give Josh Carr a fresh start going into 2026. So that's one. And
played Sheffield Shield cricket for South Australia. Was a bloody good cricketer too.
Says he was better than you.
I don't think he was anywhere near that good, but he was extraordinarily good. Anyway, keep going, Purple.
And Melbourne Footy Club, they've still got the timeline of at the latest grand final week and maybe even prelim final week for the announcement of their coach. And as we've felt, as best you can get a read on these situations from the outside looking in, this is Nathan Buckley's to lose. It's not a boat race, but he would have to absolutely stuff up the process to not still be standing when it gets really pointy.
It's down to 6, is it?
It's down to 6, yeah. There's a couple of guys, as per the reporting of Toomey on the weekend, have pulled out, and Danny Daly being one of those, Corey Enright being another, pulling out, Ken Hinkley being out. I think Stephen King's still part of the mix. Yeah.
James Kelly still in.
Brendan Lade, I believe,
Righto.
James Kelly.
Yeah.
The Pops.
Oh, Popsy.
Oh, good.
Size 12 foot.
Yeah, massive feet.
And I think rightly so that they've made the decision, and I think it's only sound that they did, that the new coach will make the decisions on the players on the list. And obviously with players like Petrarca and Oliver, whose names continually for the past 12 months come up in this space, Lever and May also added to that list this year, the new coach will be basically having the final and only relevant say on those careers.
Gee, Damo,
All right.
you've been
Have
all over.
we got the bus there?
No, we haven't. Oh, well, we could, but...
I'm sending it
You're
to
sending
Hutchie's
it,
joint.
okay.
SEN or wherever Hutchie at. Hutchie! This bus is coming to your joint. We must have better audio.
What was the 3
on
million
a television
people?
show?
3 million people
No, it was
watched
2.2. Early 2s.
Who was
It
in
was
the
an
commentary?
unbelievably good lineup.
A very good
He's
commentary.
trying to
wasn't
take
it?
credit. Bill's trying to take credit for
Well,
it.
it's the only
well,
one I've done for the year, and we've just blown everyone to the
All
shies.
I suggest you do is listen at 5 o'clock just to hear the very best of Fats.
Really? Were they special comments or just comments?
Just comments.
Just comments. Barely comments. Thanks, Purple.
See you, boys.
Damien Barrett, Rush Hour, Triple M.